What is up? It is Andy delivering you a fresh order of Sunday NFL Sniffs. Your last order came in on Thursday, and we tried to shop at the dollar store. Didn't work out for us with the Jordan Addison pick, but it did work out for us with the Matthew Stafford over on completions and alt completions. We were able to get the Sam Darnold under on passing attempts, and I would have hoped that you cashed out the 2-2 Atwell bet once you found out that Puka Nacua was in the game, or at least bet the other side, lost the VIG, because that's definitely something I wouldn't have advised if we knew for certain that Puka Nacua was playing. But that was Thursday. Let's go on to Sunday. Now, I'm very happy that up to this point, we've built up a solid bankroll. If every single bet on this channel, which I always put down in the comments and I try to repost them at the end of the week, if every single bet was for $100 that you hear come out of my mouth right here in these videos, you would be up over $3,000 already. So that affords me the luxury to make a calculated mistake, because I don't know if this is going to be a mistake for this first sniff, but this was something I talked about on a Dave and a Dan. We lost on it last week. The number has went down, and it is so low that it reminds me of a time a couple of years back where Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was like the all-purpose back on the Chiefs at the time, was down to 4,800 on DraftKings. And I was like, look, we just got to take him and live with the results. I want to go to a guy who you can get him for so cheap. And he's it. Like, if you're looking for cheap property, where do you go? You go to Detroit. I'm sorry. Sorry, Stevie Bong Rips, if you're watching. And if you're looking for receivers with unbelievably low totals, or should I say pass catchers, this is Sam LaPorta. Although we lost on him last week, the Detroit Lions lost Jameson Williams for a couple of games. And the week before, they lost Aiden Hutchinson. And as I kind of projected, it was a team that would have to throw a little bit more and get in some more high-scoring altercations. Now, is that going to happen against an opponent like Tennessee this week? Probably not. But this yardage total, I think this is the prop equivalent of the Chiefs being favored by 2.5 over the Raiders this weekend. Like, that is how absurdly low that I saw it on FanDuel. Sam LaPorta over 30.5 receiving yards. I have to do it. I built up the bankroll, so I don't mind if it loses. Then I put down my head like a dunce and say they got me. Just like all you people who probably took the Vikings on Thursday night. So every once in a while, you got to wear a dunce cap. Right now, you're wearing it. Let's see if I'm going to be wearing it on Sunday. Give me that over 30.5 receiving for Sam LaPorta. Take that to try to win 100. And then I'm taking alt number 1, which is an absurdly low total to win 100. And then alt number 2, which is another absurdly low total to win 100. I'm going in. That's what we got for Sam LaPorta. A couple alts there. I see other alt opportunities, and this was another bet that we talked about on a Dave and a Dan. Now, I think I texted Dave about this. We differ in opinions a little bit. I'm looking at that Carolina Panthers Denver Broncos game. We just learned that there's going to be no Deontay Johnson. There's going to be no Adam Thielen. So it's going to be Bryce Young in the bunch, a bunch of ragtag young receivers in Denver while they have Patrick Surtain back, and a team that's probably going to be playing with a lead. And if we learned anything as they played with that lead in New Orleans, is that they're just going to keep feeding Javonte Williams. And trust me when I tell you, this is the last time you're going to hear this guy's name coming out of my mouth. This guy is as slow as they've come. He's one of these slug running backs who happened to have a big week against the worst run defense you've ever seen in your life. As Dave pointed out in the Dave and a Dan, they've been run on for like 500 yards in 2 games. So any other team other than New Orleans, I think Javonte is going to look somewhat like a slug, even against the worst of them, which is Carolina, which is why I'm going, look, we can do the rush yards. That's what I talked about on a Dave and a Dan. But what I specifically am targeting here is the over on rushing attempts for Javonte Williams. And why is that? Because, A, I do think he kind of runs like a slug. So even a bad run defense, I don't think he can gash like he did against New Orleans last week. And the more important part of that is who's replacing Javonte Williams late in the game. They were up by 3 scores late in the 4th, and they didn't put Audric Estime on the field. Late in that game, and there was like 4 minutes left, they tried putting Audric Estime in there, and he fumbled. So unless you think they're going to give brittle Jaleel McLaughlin a ton of carries, 15 carries, if they're up in this game, I think Javonte Williams is going to get carry after carry. Who knows? He may get stuffed on a bunch of them. I saw that Deandre Swift a couple weeks ago had like 22 carries against them for only 70-something yards. So if they're playing with a lead and they continue to use Javonte Williams, which Sean Payton has clearly shown he's willing to do in a game like that, as he did last week. The only reason he had a low carry total last week is because that's the one defense that's getting gashed for 15 and 20 by Javonte Williams, of all people. But if he reverts back to his sluggish type of form, and I swear to you, I hope this guy never sees this video. I hope he never sees this video, because I'm just some piece of garbage sitting in this room with a Freddy Krueger glove behind me, and Javonte Williams is in the NFL. Hey, Javonte, I'm betting on you. I'm telling everybody to take the over on your rushing attempts in this game. And then I'm laddering that alt over on rushing attempts along with a third alt over. So I'm going 15 plus, 17 plus, 19 plus. 15, 17. I think he gets 20 carries in this game. It's not rocket science. They hate Audric Estime for fumbling. Jaleel McLaughlin has a brittle body. I don't think they're giving him 15 carries. So who's getting all the running work? It's got to be Javonte. So unless you think this is a full rat and Carolina goes up somehow early, they're up by multiple scores, which is going to force Denver to throw, then I think you should be all about those Javonte Williams rushing attempts as well. Speaking of Deandre Swift, that's another guy. I like his over on rushing attempts as well. Now, why is that? Because they're facing the Commanders. Oh, the Commanders who have been going back and forth with everybody? No, not those Commanders, because we're getting the Marcus Mariota Commanders. So if there is any sort of situation where they're punting the ball against a good Bears defense, they've proven to be so far this year, look at the work that Deandre Swift is getting. It's right up there with that Javonte Williams from last week. As I just mentioned, he had over 20 carries against Carolina. He's getting a ton of work. So I like his over on rushing yards. I like his over on rushing attempts. And the only question is, do you want to go with the alt overs on those? I feel comfortable with those two, the over on his rushing yards and the over on his rushing attempts, simply because of the girth of work that they've given him these last couple of weeks. I don't know why I just chose that word. And then the second half that makes that bet is Mariota being the starter, potentially more punts. And this game doesn't feel like one of these high-scoring Commanders games. This is one where they're just running the ball a lot more. So maybe that means I like the under on the game. I don't even know what it is. What is it, 46.5? Didn't look. Don't care. Going over on rushing yards and carries or rushing attempts for Deandre Swift. All right, where else can we find some property that we can find on the cheap? All right, where are we going here? Oh, you can never get cheap property in Miami. Oh, really? There's something in Miami? What, did you look for the Devon Achane receiving yards? Oh, no, but they burned you, so you don't want to take that? Oh, my God, Tyreek Hill has the high total, so it's like we didn't even get a 1-week grace period. What about the second block? Anybody check the back door? Oh, Jaylen Waddle with an extremely doable total in Tua Tagovailoa's return. This is something, go back to last year, go back to week 1, week 2. This is the type of total that I want to take for Jaylen Waddle. You're talking about in the 50s. And this is something that, with the routes he runs, he could easily clear this in 2 catches. So you can take Tyreek for over 90 or whatever the hell they put it out. I will kind of stay on the cheaper end of the spectrum and look for the over on Jaylen Waddle receiving yards. And a very similar situation with Philadelphia. These are 2 guys from last year. Throughout various points of the season, the big 3 last year were T. Higgins, Jaylen Waddle, Devonta Smith. And he's going to be the third guy I'm buying at a relatively low total. If there's going to be no Dallas Goedert in this game, and A.J. Brown obviously went off last week against Cincinnati, where there can be kind of a back and forth, there are 2 of our buy low guys in here. Although T. Higgins, we had to fully wave goodbye. Another one added. Think about the totals on these guys that you currently see. It was right here where we kept telling you to go check out that band. These tickets won't be affordable in a couple of weeks. All of them are there now. Flowers, Higgins, Chris Olave was there before the injury to Carr. Rashee Rice is there. They're almost all, those guys I bring up are almost always there. And now we're looking for Jaylen Waddle and Devonta Smith to buy on the low in the 50s. Give me the over on both of those guys. And that is what I have for you Sunday, week 8. I like these sniffs. Woo! I like these sniffs. I do. But sometimes that's the kiss of death. Sometimes I'm like, this is going to be a losing week. Enter, Andy, you swept the board. And that is the true rhyme and reason when it comes to sniffing. The sniff gods giveth, and sometimes they taketh away. While I love my feelings on this slate, it can obviously go sour in a second. But you want to know what's never going to sour? Our relationship. Are you kidding me? I lose 2 weeks. You guys will feed me to the wolves. Anyway, while you guys are here and before you feed me to the wolves, do me a favor. Let's do the fair trade. I sniff, you click. Like this video, comment, subscribe to the channel, and click the notifications, because obviously, as you see, the videos come out at all separate points. I mean, Friday's hockey video came out in the afternoon. Sometimes I try to drop them at 3 in the morning. This one is a random late afternoon upload. So in order to know when they come out, if you do want to watch them right away, you want to get the first clicks on some of those lines, make sure you are subscribed. And obviously, as I get information, as things change, both for NHL and NFL, I post any sort of updates on the Patreon, where there also is a chat with all the other sniffers, and they're putting their insane pirate parlays in the chat. So you might enjoy that over there. You might. Maybe you won't. Maybe you won't. If not, no worries. I will see you on Monday for some NHL and Monday Night Football snips. Take it easy. I will talk to you then.